Can you be a patriotic investor? Jeff McClure thinks so. He's CEO of Freedom Capital, and he joins me now. Nice to see you, Jeff.
Well, thanks for having me.
So you are raising money. You've got a different way to invest, and it's kind of the anti-social investing movement. And it's, in your view, a patriotic way to go.
Sure. So I mean, we view ourselves as an impact investor, just as the other $6.5 trillion of capital that raises its hand and says we have an agenda. Perhaps ours is just a different choice for folks.
And your agenda includes many of the things that those kind of funds shy away from. Guns, oil, what else?
Well, agricultural independence. We have an expertise in national defense, cybersecurity, bioterror security. Coming from Washington, D.C., we have folks on the team that have spent their lives in those arenas. And then just the financing of American middle market manufacturing and companies that produce jobs. So it's kind of a broader mandate than just a couple of different things, but it's any opportunity that we believe enhances the prosperity, the security, and the freedom of the United States and its allies.
So how have you been doing so far in terms of raising money? What are you hearing from in terms of the investments?
Well, we just, our first fund, which is a publicly registered vehicle, just became effective from the SEC 2.5 weeks ago, and we'll have our first close of capital into that fund probably at the earliest of December, but likely sometime early in the first quarter of next year. So we'll know then, but we're getting tremendous momentum, and lots of folks calling us are interested. So we'll see when the fund starts to close, but it seems like momentum is building.
And you're hoping to get 500?
We registered $500 million worth of capital for this continuous offering that'll be available for 2 years. But we also have the capability to register more shares if we're so lucky, fortunate as to need to.
So I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. Oil is an area you're interested in. Okay, those are stocks, many of them, that have not done well.
Sure.
So how do you balance the agenda, if you will, with just the potential performance for some of these companies?
Well, sure. I think that clearly some of our investment thesis is some portion of our investment thesis is contrarian in that as things haven't done well, there's an opportunity, and everything being, certainly commodities being cyclical, offers us some buying points in the energy business that are far better for us than if we had been and started investing 2 years ago at $105 a barrel. So every investment has to stand on its own, but I think as some of these investments have lost favor from the institutional capital markets, that doesn't mean they're not necessary and good investments. And when we see an entry point that's far lower than it was 2 years ago, we may well like that.
Tobacco on your list as well?
Tobacco, we wouldn't be opposed to investing in any lawful American business. We don't have a certain expertise built on the team in tobacco, so I don't think it would rise to the top of our investment choices because of our lack of expertise, but we wouldn't preclude it as it's an American lawful enterprise.
Do you invest overseas at all?
Well, so the business development company with which our first fund is structured requires that 70% of our balance sheet be invested in American domiciled companies. So we will primarily be a U.S.-oriented fund. I guess it's possible we would find a one-off small portion of the balance sheet that would be overseas, but typically our capital the thesis is we're supporting American business.
Why do you think there's been such a movement towards social investing? Do you think you can ever develop a fund that even rivals some of these social impact funds out there? There's a negativity to some of the things you're investing in.
Sure. I guess we'll see. There's, as I said, there's certain studies that indicate that $6.5 trillion, that's with a T, that's a lot of money. It's generally one out of six every investable dollar in the United States that does raise its hand and has some sort of mission, agenda, focus beyond pure economic return. We don't know if our thesis that we should invest in things that we think support America rivals that $6.5 trillion, or is some maybe smaller portion. But what we do know from our when we'll see our first capital come in and when we go around and talk to people is that number is not zero, and we think it's actually quite meaningful. And we think some of the decisions that some of this other capital has made is detrimental to the long-term health, security, prosperity of this country, and that there's millions of folks that would agree with that and would support that agreement with their money.
Jeff McClure, good to talk to you.
Thanks
so much.
Thank you.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for The Street.